This Liberal Party is about as predictable as the sun rising tomorrow, the sky being blue, and the lake being wet. Yes, it was leaked from Freeland's circle that she's planning to scrap the consumer side of the carbon tax. Yes, she still hasn't announced her intention yet, but that's what has been leaked out of her circles. Those who've been observing politics saw this coming from a mile away. We all said it on social media. We saw it going through all of our feeds. Watch the Liberals say, we're not going to do carbon tax. And as soon as they get voted back in, if they were to ever get voted back in, they'd be like, carbon tax is back on, suckers. That's exactly what would happen. And here they are, running for leadership of this party. Freeland says, bye-bye. I'm not supporting consumer carbon tax. Here's the article. Freeland plans to scrap carbon tax, replace with system that provinces support, says a source. Former Finance Minister Freeland has not yet confirmed she'll be running a Liberal leadership contest, but is already planning to reverse one of the Trudeau government's key climate policies she has defended for years. A source close to Freeland confirmed the news first reported by CTV News that she plans to scrap the unpopular consumer carbon tax should she be elected Liberal leader. She is ready to make difficult decisions to meet our emissions targets and make sure big polluters pay for their outsized emissions. But she will not fight Canadians on a policy they have been clear they do not support, said the source in a statement to the National Post. That's why Freeland will replace the consumer carbon price with a system that will work within our federation and will be developed collaboratively with provinces and territories. She looks forward to working together on fighting the climate crisis. Which means is political lingo for we are going to jujitsu the provinces into submitting to some type of carbon pricing, whether it be cap and trade, which has been proven to be useless, or another version of a carbon tax. But the federal government's going to take it off, and that's obviously what grabbed headlines. And this is kind of how they operate. They'll tell you what you want to hear, and then slide in the tax and screw you over in another way, then say, it was the province's fault, like we saw with COVID. The federal government didn't do anything. That was on the provinces, even though they coerced all the provinces into doing what they wanted them to do. So that's likely what we're going to see here. The federal government can say, we took the consumer price of carbon off because we believe in listening to the people. Bleeding hearts. And even if you wanted to take the price of carbon off the consumer side and just really go after the big polluters, as they say here, well, we've seen it time and time and time again. Anything you apply to the industry will filter down into the consumers. They will always pass that off into the consumers. So we will be taxed some way, shape, or form, whether it be in the prices we pay, or if the federal government or our provinces apply something to the consumer side, or the federal government is doing it all together. So that's kind of how it's working. That's what we're seeing from Freeland. That's her promise. One of her promises she's leaking out before she announces that she fully intends to run. And we're starting to see this from the two frontrunners. We know that people have been announcing their intention. We have Karina Gold, who's entered in. We have the people's champion, Chandra Arya. I say that tongue-in-cheek, of course, for those who don't understand what a joke is. And we have Mark Carney. But really the two that you really have to be concerned about, Mark Carney and Freeland. It's going to be a face-off between them, even though the whole party seems to be really leaning towards Carney, especially after the Daily Show interview. People have been just goo-goo gaga over that interview. Even though guys like Mark Holland have come out in support of Freeland, François-Philippe Champagne has come out in support of Freeland. And she's actually gaining a lot of support from the Liberal Party, but the Liberal supporters are leaning towards Carney. And as I said, Freeland has been leaking this out, and Carney's adopting something very similar. This is one thing that no one really talked about because there's so much BS in that interview that transpired earlier this week. But he announced as well that he wants to get rid of the consumer carbon tax as well, in just a more Mark Carney roundabout way, as he usually does.
We're addressing these issues, doing our bit, making our companies more competitive, because you know what's going to happen in the United States? 5 years from now, you're going to care about it again. Right? You're going to have an election, you're going to care about it again. And we better be in a position where we've done our bit at that point. But we need to do it in a way that Canadians today are not paying the price.
Right. Now, how do you do that? That's the rub. How do you make proactive measures on future disasters feasible in a political moment today? Every time I've seen a gas tax or a carbon tax floated, it's not politically feasible. So
the vast majority of our emissions in Canada come from our industry.
Comes from the big polluters. We can't penalize the consumers. So even Mark Carney's coming out saying we have to scrap the consumer side of the carbon tax, but we have to go after the big emitters. And this is the issue we've been seeing. Canada is one of the very, very few countries who have this ridiculous policy. And it's chased off all private industry out of the country. And so even if you double and triple down on industry, do you think that's going to attract foreign investment? I suppose no. Probably not going to happen. And this is why the final nail in the coffin from this Liberal Party would be allowing one of those two to continue the charade. Pull the blindfold over so many. Because I know you do. I know I do. Have friends who don't pay attention to politics, already think this guy is the man, and will vote for him blindly because he sounds nice. He sounds more intelligent than Trudeau. He wants to get rid of the consumer carbon tax. Count me in. This is going to be obviously a topic of discussion as they have their leadership race, and get ready for all these lies to start coming through because we've listened to people and it's deeply unpopular. We're just going to find a different way to screw you. That's really how it's going to go. And don't forget about Freeland saying she wants to scrap it, even though for years and years and years, she said stuff like this. Canada carbon rebate is giving families hundreds of dollars every 3 months, ensuring 8 out of 10 families get more back than they pay, even though that proved to be untrue by the PBO. This makes life more affordable for the middle class while ensuring big polluters pay their fair share. Those big polluters, screw you. Old man yells at cloud. This is where we're at. This is how it's going. And so it's interesting to see Carney earlier this week talk about how he wants to, in a roundabout way, eliminate the consumer carbon tax. Freeland leaking that she wants to get rid of the consumer carbon tax. Then you have Pierre Poilievre coming out and making it very, very clear how he feels about Canada, how he feels about Trump, how he feels about these stupid taxes, and what he will do to make a splash and layeth the smacketh down.
And jobs out of our country. We need to stand strong. My message to President Trump is this: Canada will never be the 51st state, and not only that, the free ride is over. The era of liberal tax increases and anti-development policies that have driven $500 billion of our money south of the border is over. I will be cutting taxes, removing red tape, and unleashing free enterprise to bring home hundreds of billions of dollars of production and paychecks to this country. We will be a fierce free enterprise economy that delivers powerful paychecks to our people, that will allow anyone from anywhere to achieve anything, that guarantees that hard work gets you a powerful paycheck that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods. That is how we bring it home for Canada.
That's how we bring it home. And that has consistently been the rhetoric we're hearing from the left. Pierre has no policies. He has no ideas. Just slogans. And you can tell they say this because they're either acting in bad faith politically or having bad faith arguments. Because you can't possibly think, if you've actually spent time listening to him saying he has no policies and he has no ideas, literally all he has is these ideas and plans. And he's been kind of slowly rolling them out to show people, because we saw every time he put out an idea, the Liberal government would take it. That's kind of what would happen. So this is him saying, we will not be the 51st state. Quite frankly, the free ride is over. Trump says they're getting screwed over. Actually, you're wrong. We're Canadians have been getting screwed over because we don't build our own refineries. We harvest the oil, give it to the USA for a fraction of the dollar, and then buy it back at a premium. That, my friends, that free ride is over. We will be building refineries. We will be taking care of our resources, and then you have to buy it from us. That's the message. That's the strength. That's the takeaway. We're going to get rid of the capital gains tax. We're going to get rid of the carbon tax, consumer and the industry side. We are going to get rid of all these depleted, hard work sucking, unreal taxes that have completely gutted the country. And we're going to get ready, liberals and anyone else who's get triggered, bring it home. That's kind of what we're seeing here. And quite frankly, it's nice to hear this type of rhetoric coming from Pierre Poilievre. Because what we've heard in previous days, obviously we've seen this huge fight erupt between Daniel Smith and the Eastern Canada, because Eastern Canada wants to put a tariff on oil and gas. And if you do that, that's going to completely hurt Alberta. And Daniel Smith wants to avoid that at all costs. Yet they're painting Daniel Smith as the bad guy, the one who hates Canada, the one who loves Trump, the one who's kissing his shoes down in Florida. She's just looking out for her province. They're the ones who are going to get screwed over in this whole thing more than anyone else if they do that. She's just looking after her province. Imagine that, a premier doing their job. Shocking. I know that mostly gets demonized these days, politicians doing their jobs. So to Poilievre to be like, yeah, We're going to get rid of all these restrictive taxes, restrictive policies that have been hampering what we're doing here. We're going to start taking care of our own now. We're going to take this more seriously so that someone like Trump or China or the World Economic Forum can never, ever do this to us again. And Monday, January 20th is coming. So we'll see what happens. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. I'm out.